down, I'm scared.
I don't know. I think my mom was going through that. She's in like that phase where she wasn't listening to me. I just had to kind of abide by the rules of the house.
That phase.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready to go, sir?
I think I'm ready.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 326th episode of the Geekverse podcast and a special Geekverse review. I am the number one Kylo Ren fanboy, Travis Snell.
I I am the raw dog and fish, Taylor Field.
Raw dog and fish Taylor Field. If you have no idea what Taylor's talking about, the best thing to do is go to our newscast we did a few weeks ago. The topic is like how MCU shows or how Disney Plus shows could affect the MCU. It's something like that. The thumbnails like Loki and Moon Knight and all that. You should listen to that because it's one of our most talked about episodes. There's a certain conversation Taylor and I have, and we've gotten a lot of traction from it. So if you want to know what that nickname's for, you go there. It's or you can wait till the bloopers at the end of the year. Either way, it's gonna appear. So how you doing, Taylor Field?
I'm doing very good, very good. This I'm excited to be here for this review. Now, Travis didn't think that we would be doing this review before Friday, but look at this. We're actually doing this before Friday.
Well, technically, this will come out on Friday for them, so they'll have no idea. They'll be like, oh, Travis was right, as always. These goofs on this podcast, Travis always had. Look, Joker, not $2 billion, $1 billion. What is this?
I'm showing them. It's Thursday, 6:33 p.m. to the video listeners.
That's a deep fake. That's a deep fake you just did. Yeah, you just got it by the hair of your chinny chin chin, and it's one day before. So because we got lots of stuff popping off. The reason why I wanted to finish earlier because tomorrow we're reviewing The Mandalorian, so I already got a big review there. Episode 3. If you've not checked out episode 1 or episode 2, go and do that. There's the non-spoilers version, but there's spoilers. We got to end on all. There's Baby Yoda. We're talking about it. You know, Star Wars Instagram officially posted a photo about it today. It's no longer in spoiler territory. So we got into all our theories and whatnot. So if you like Star Wars, do that. We also have released every single commentary track we've ever done. We're going to do in the next 3 weeks. All this will happen at least before The Rise of Skywalker. We're going to do a Last Jedi commentary track, and we'll do an episode 9 predictions. We did that with Spidey, and we did that with Endgame of just like, you know, who could die, who could live, what could happen, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do that. At some point, we'll cover the Video Game Awards. We'll do a preview. We'll probably do a watch-along. We've done a watch-along every year, those Video Game Awards, almost every year. So that created Whose Boat Was It? Another great meme that nobody knows but us, so that's a good thing. What else is popping off? There may be a Knives Out review next week. Hopefully, don't put a gun to me, you know, but that's hopefully going to happen. Might have some special guests dropping by this week. Might have an announcement here or there, so stay tuned. Some big things dropping. I screwed it up.
Big things are dropping, so you better come knocking.
Little things stopping, big things dropping, you know? So you don't know who might be back in town, and who might make an appearance here and there, and who might have an announcement of sorts. So some exciting stuff. That's why you join Patreon, because they give you a little tease of what might be going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about Jedi Fallen Order. And speaking about video games, check out Dylan and Taylor talk about Outer Worlds. They did kind of a mini review impressions. Me and Dylan did Death Stranding last week. That was our longest video game review of all time. We did 2.5 hours on that.
Jesus.
Yeah, we did Luigi's Mansion. So we got lots of gaming content. So between that and our future coverage of the Video Game Awards, please check that all out. Taylor, you have anything to say before we get in this review?
I do. I just want to say, you know, me and Travis, we went to the early release.
Travis and I.
Yeah, Travis and I. Is that the correct term?
That's the correct. It's the correct term, all right.
So, yeah, we went to the early release for Fallen Order. It was a good time. And there's some social situations where it was just being in the scenario with Travis is just a great time. Like, we went and saw the Meg late at night for a late showing. And it's just a situation that I could tell Travis it was out of his element, especially when we switched seats too into the seats that we weren't supposed to be in, which was just great. But again, we're here. And we were the only ones in line for Fallen Order, I'm pretty sure. The whole mall was filled with, like, a ton of people. The West Side had over 150 people, Kirkland was saying.
We for sure... Why, did he go to get Pokemon as well?
No, his friend went to get, I think, Pokemon, actually. But he said that it was, like, out the, like, really long line up there on the West Side.
We at least had 100 people. It was
at least 100, yeah. But just, you know...
for Pokemon, not for this
game.
For
Pokemon, yeah. It's out of Travis's element. You know, I can tell. And you got the guys coming up. Which starter are you picking?
I was probably rude and I shouldn't have been, but I was just like, I picked nothing. I'm here for Star Wars. And I was like as deadpan as that. Taylor can attest. Because I've said this before. I'll say this again on this podcast. I don't know. I don't have a list of things that I dislike in the world, but Pokemon was definitely one of them. And it was always, I thought, out of my life. And then this podcast started, and you have Taylor and Jessica, and then people around them that are big fans. Just like, ugh, it's just stuff you don't get, you know. And it's the difference of like every once in a while. And I'd say it's like for Jessica, she doesn't watch wrestling. I'm sure she's probably annoyed by it, but I don't bring it up every podcast. Pokemon, if it's a newscast, it's going to come up every time. Oh, there's some this, there's some that, there's this Go edition, blah, blah, blah. And it's never going to stop because congrats for Pokemon Sword and Shield or whatever. It sold like 6 million copies, fastest selling Switch game in history. So good. We're going to get more of those. It's never going to die. Stupid Detective Pikachu, which is not anyone that says, oh, that's the first good video game movie. No, it's not. First of all, we've never got a great one. And second of all, it's still a bad movie. Check out our review of that. So yeah, I don't like being in places where I feel beneath me.
Oh my God.
I'm a person like I'm very 50-50, and it's not anything like I don't have like major anxiety. I have anxiety in some stuff, but it's not like that. It's just like there's many times where I'm very outrovert and I want to go out, but it all depends on the situation. And you can ask Kyle, you take me out clubbing or something like that, I am the most talkative, like I'm down to party, I'm down to have a good time, I'm talking with strangers, this and that, unless the wrong group comes in, and then I'm quiet as hell, and I'm like, I don't fuck with this, I don't like being here. That's what the whole Pokemon thing was. It's just surrounded by people that love the thing you hate. They're talking about stars, they're talking about green types, oh, look at this little feature. I don't give a fuck. Get out of here, your little features. I'm just here to get the Star Wars thing. And
they were throwing balloons over our heads.
You got people, oh, stupid balloons. I didn't even touch that. One, also made germs, two. And then you got people at EV Games like they're wearing fucking Pokemon PJs in there, working their pajamas. Like, have some decency. Come on now. It just looks bad. It's just,
I think the best.
And why do people get stuff pierced in their like cheekbone? I don't understand it. Let me know if you. It's not an offensive thing to you. I'm saying let me know why that look.
I think the best part of that night was, you know, there would be mall workers and you're standing there in line and the mall workers would be filming you with their cameras. Everyone was filming everyone in line. And I mean, Travis dead stared this guy down in his video too.
I did. I just don't like midnight launches, but I did it to get the game for this review. So there you go. For the fans, I put myself in an awkward situation. It was there for a while. And you bump into people you don't want to talk to and all this stuff. And like, not you, Donald, if you're listening, not you, just other people I used to work with. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this is why I stay in my cave. You know, I like...
Your digital purchases.
Oh, yeah. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We're going to do, usually as game reviews go, we'll talk about kind of the gameplay, some of the mechanics first, and then we'll get into story spoilers. Well, we'll get into non-spoilers, but then we'll get into story spoilers. So we'll leave that to last. You can skip ahead, but we'll just give our overalls. I'll start. I really like this game. I really enjoy it. I think the biggest thing is you can tell that these people made it for Star Wars fans. And like Taylor's, of course, going to defend Battlefront and say they did the same thing. But this just feels like whether it is the lore, whether it is little touches, which we'll get into spoilers, whether it is just certain ways they go about levels, I really appreciate. And like here's like a minor spoiler. And it's a con too, but one thing I did like that some games, can take a while to get into action. This is about like 5 minutes in, you're busting out a lightsaber, you're ready to go. Like I said, it's a minor spoiler, but whatever. You'll know 5 minutes in. If you get mad at me for that, come on now. Fuck Pokemon. So you dive right into the action, so I really appreciate that. Especially I just played Death Stranding, which I love. Might be my favorite video game of all time, but it's definitely a slow burn to get into like the action part. So I love that. I feel they did a lot of care for the fans, and the combat is something I had heard talked about because people compare it to like a Souls, like Bloodborne, Sekiro situation. I've never played any of those. I've watched them a little bit. I watched them once when we did that weird gauntlet match, and then I've seen them a few times here and there, but I just knew the thing of it's a punishing combat system, and it's something you have to learn, and you're not a hack and slash. You have to really kind of plan out battles, or you should. You could still, like this game technically, if you go on the easy difficulty, you could just hack and slash, but really it's about the challenge, and I like that because I think that fits you feeling a Jedi. I think it's done well. We'll talk about this more. I think it's done well, but one, I don't have much to compare it to, but I think it's done well, but I don't think it's done greatly. And from just my small experience of either Briggs and Dylan or Sarah's talking about or seeing them play it, those games look a lot more smoother than this. So I think they're going for that, but it's not necessarily as smooth. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, it's just kind of, this is a bad comparison, but it's like if you played Spider-Man on the PS2 and then the PS4, like very bad. But I'm just saying, let's say it was closer in generations where, the swinging feels like it's good but not perfect, where when you play Spider-Man PS4, you're like, this is the perfect swinging. This time, I feel like it works for the most part, but there's lots of times, especially in boss battles, where I feel it might be a little glitchy, it might be a little off, where it doesn't feel the most flowing combat. You feel like you learn it, and then the game kind of messes up, and you're like, oh, okay. So that's not against it. We're going to talk a lot about glitches and whatnot, so that'll be fun. That's what I would say. It's a good game, not a great game. I don't know why, and we've had some debate about the Video Game Awards, if it's eligible or not. If it was, I can see why it didn't get nominated for anything. Maybe it would next year. We'll talk about that, but I just don't see how people would say this is Game of the Year. I think this does a lot of good things that other games do. It reminds me, not to the same extent, because Breath of the Wild, I understood some of the hype. I didn't understand the greatest game of this decade hype, but that to me was the same thing where it's like, it's doing a bunch of things other video games have done, but the first time in Zelda, and it's doing really well. Where I think this does a bunch of things that other games do, Dark Souls, God of War, like the map layout and the level layouts, very much like that. Uncharted, like the set pieces, the cutscenes. There's lots of sliding in this game, which is very bad. The sliding sucks ass in this game. You never feel like you have control. Other than when I was on ice. Other than that, everything else, it was just like a crapshoot. Like, can I make this quarter? I don't know. And screw the ropes in this game sometime too. There's very Uncharted elements, so it does all these things, and it does them well / to good. I don't think they do any of them poorly, but it doesn't do any of them great. And the other thing that I don't think is fantastic, which I've heard some people I think was very hyperbolic, this is one of the best Star Wars canon stories out there. I don't think it is. I think it's not bad, but it's very much why I didn't want a game set in this generation. I've had lots of fun playing the game. I like Cal enough. I don't think he stands out. He's not like, if I made a top 50 Star Wars characters, he probably wouldn't be in it, to be honest. But I like him enough. I like the actor Cameron as well. He played a fantastic Joker. But I think the story, there's not much they cover here that we haven't seen covered in other canon that already exists or canon that was Legends. It just feels like we've talked about this before, the Dark Times. It's just, we've seen so much done. What is there to do? And they didn't, to me, make a case for doing anything that stood out. There's some really fun stuff. There's like a fun twist with the villain I like. There's some fun cameos. But even the cameos, all of them I was kind of expecting, especially there's certain ones where I'm like, I feel like we talked about this for ages, and I'm happy seeing it, but even then, the way they're used feels very predictable, and the story is very predictable. I think it's a very safe story. We'll talk about in spoilers. The way the game ends, I feel, is very safe. Yeah, it's just, and I don't understand that. It's just something like, I can understand, I'm not a fan of it, but I kind of understand when Taylor and other people say the Rogue One thing. I say Rogue One to me wasn't executed perfectly, but I kind of go, this is a unique story, it's something different. This to me wasn't that. Yeah, it's good at a lot of things, and I sound poor because I had a lot of fun playing this game. This is a game that Dylan's going to bore from me, but it's not a game I'm going to trade in, because now when I want to be a Jedi, this is it. Because that game, I don't really own a game like that. Battlefront as heroes got better, but still they're not the greatest. KOTOR's not, you don't play that for combat because it's, what is it, turntable.
It's turn-based.
Yeah, so it's like, turn-based, turntable. I'm a DJ now. DJ Jedi. But so the combat isn't fantastic, but it is lots and lots of fun. And I think once you master it, once you unlock other force powers, it's really good. So again, I think the combat and all that is fun. I just think it's not perfectly executed, and that's kind of just my general feeling of the game. But I should preference more of that. I did really like it, and I think if you're a Star Wars fan, I would recommend it. It's not to that extent where I'm like, it's so down. It's just that I think I got a lot more hype going in because the reviews were really strong, and then I played it because the reviews came the night of we got it, and they were really strong. And then when I played it, I was like, okay, I'm liking it more and more, having tons of fun. The score, I think, is great in this game. But yeah, I don't think it lives up to the hype, but I think it's a good step. This to me is the type of game that I think when they make Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, or if it's like the reason I think they are going to do Star Wars Jedi, that they might do different eras, whatever it is, their next game, I think that could be the one that's great, where this feels like a good starting point, a good kickoff point. It kind of, the best way I can describe it is, for people that are longtime fans, is the same way I feel about Thor Ragnarok. Where Thor Ragnarok, I love that movie. I have tons of fun. I put it on all the time. But when I break it down story-wise, I have tons of problems with it. And that's kind of like this, where I have tons of fun with it. I'm going to play this game a lot. I still have some collector stuff. I really enjoy it. But on the whole, I don't think it's, when we do our best of the game decade, or best games of the decade later on this month or in January, it wouldn't be on there. I think it'd be a very honorable mention, but yeah, that's my kind of just on the surface thoughts. So, Taylor Field.
Um, so for me, this game, I've obviously like I watched gameplay videos for it, and I knew like the general gist of the story, and all that going in, and I was very excited for this game. Now, I definitely know out of all the Star Wars games that we have now received, like all three of them, I
Galaxy
definitely know.
Heroes too.
Yeah, I definitely know where I would place this game amongst these three.
Very controversial.
But now everyone, I've seen lots of posts online and articles where people are pointing out the cons and the negatives of Fallen Order, and then other people are getting so defensive and aggressive about this. Now, I just want people, when they listen to my take and opinion on this, fans, this is to you. Just bear an open mind and just look at it from an unbiased and just a neutral standpoint, and just understand the things that I'm going to say. And it doesn't mean that I hate the game, and it doesn't mean that I insanely love the game. I just think all around it was a very good Star Wars experience. I did have some problems with it, and I am going to call it out because I think it is, it's a review. You have to call these things out. And like, I defend Star Wars Battlefront 2 because it's come a long way, and I support it because of the changes they've done and how much they've contributed to the fan base and the support for the community. It's great, and I'm very excited to see how this game will grow over time, like Battlefront 2 has, and this game will grow into something that it truly can be, the best of the best of what it should be. And
Best of the best.
so that all being said, this game for sure, it's a great journey. It's a great experience. But there are certain things that I got frustrated with, and I got disappointed with actually quite a bit. And they weren't takeaways from me. I only had one moment in the entire game where I actually thought this is a huge negative, and it really bumps it down. But luckily, it didn't happen.
Like gameplay or story?
A bit of both. Probably more or less the gameplay. But there are some things in gameplay wise, like. I don't know how deep can I go into this, like spoiler wise, like if I was to talk about like the gameplay elements.
When you like I think, well, like why? Because you were going to talk about a certain force power or something.
No, well, I guess I can explain it in a vague kind of way. So obviously, like in Dark Souls, you have certain points where you progress and you can save your progress, like little meditation points.
Oh boy, yeah. I think I know where you're going.
So you obviously, like, let's say you clear out a whole area of enemies, and then you go, oh, I'm gonna go and like re-heal up, and then you re-heal up, and then all the enemies are back, and it's like, oh, this is a real pain in the ass. And it's nice because it forces you to progress further to where you got to get past the enemies to the next point to save and heal up. But it has, to me, I found a lot of cons and like withdrawals at certain points too.
Yeah, I didn't find that a problem. I would agree that I think there's elements of the game dated. I didn't find a problem with the enemies coming back. It could be annoying, but I get that. My problem was there's one boss in particular near the end that if you die, you get kicked back to the save point, and it's just annoying where it's not even that many enemies, but you just have to run through them again. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was just kind of annoying. It just felt like a very old school kind of a game thing, and I've heard that with the Dark Souls thing, but this to me didn't feel like a challenging. This was just like annoying to kick you back to a certain point that's not that far, but far enough where you're like, why do I need to do this, and why do I need to watch this cutscene again and stuff like that. So I think there's some things like that if they were, I think there's a certain effect. It's kind of like depressing movies. There's a difference between making a slow burn and making you feel bad to like feeling bored. And I think that's where not that I got bored, but there's some design elements where it's like, this wasn't needed, or this feels very lame, so.
Now you also played on Jedi Knight difficulty, right?
I did, yeah. I think I will play harder when I play it again at some point, but I just played that because I want to get through the review.
Mm-hmm. So I played on Jedi Master, and it like I can't even imagine what Jedi Grandmaster difficulty is like, because playing on this difficulty, it really stressed me out through a lot of scenarios. Like there were a few boss battles where it was just a clean sweep. It was fine. It was easy. Yeah. But then there were other ones where I would probably be on like my 30th retry.
30.
And I kid you not, when I would spend about an hour to 2 hours in one boss battle, and it's not for, just button mashing or anything like that, because, you play and you learn, the technique, you understand, and you can preemptively identify what the boss is going to do, and you can
learn their attack patterns.
You can learn their attack patterns, and you can react to it and adapt. And that's exactly what I did. But then the game has certain moments and elements where, you know, you're put in a scenario or situation while you're fighting that it is either unavoidable or there's just nothing you can do, or it's just, to me, it literally felt like a very unfair moment that shouldn't happen that ends up happening.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense because it's usually like a chain. Like when you're fighting them, it's like, okay, they do one thing and one thing, and then they could do this or this, and then all of a sudden they do two things back to back, which should be spaced out a little bit because then your reaction time is next to nothing, and then it's a death. You can't do anything about it.
Well, yeah, for me, it's more, I think that's where I come in, that it's not the best made, because some people might be listening like, oh, this game's just too hard for these people. I don't think that, where I experience things where there's a certain boss where I would roll the same time and avoid it, and then the next time do the exact same thing, same timing, and it would hit me, and I'd be like, it'd feel like the game was forcing me to be like, oh, it's compensating for losing, so it's like getting hit boxes. There's one other thing where there was a boss that I died several times. I was trying again, and I was doing really well this time. And there's a certain attack that it didn't do till it did a few animations every time. But for some reason this time, no animations, no cutscenes whatsoever, it was doing that. So it's like, well, how am I supposed to prepare for that? And that's fine. You could do that as a game, but it didn't make much sense on that one. That boss, I'll give it to that. Okay, fine, maybe it changes up because you're doing better. But there were two bosses in particular where it felt like, oh, I've learned the dodge, I've learned this, but this doesn't make sense, because how come if I dodge this point it hits me, but if I don't dodge there, or if it's like, how come if I'm standing at a certain point at an angle from the enemy, at other times it'll go like it'll swing at me and not hit me all, but then at other times it swings and just takes me out. So I feel that's where I'd have to watch more of the Soul stuff, but that's where, just from my very minuscule point of view, I felt like they were going for that, but it wasn't finely tuned. It was just, I won't say rushed, but maybe it was. You talked about that. We talked about that they won out for probably the movie. I know it's not time, but still it sells games. So that's what feels like a little that they could have used a few more coat of paints on it, and there's like, it's good enough. And I don't think it's awful, but there is times where it is frustrating that I wish it was made a bit better. So
yeah, I think at least. I have another thing here too that I'm going to show you. I actually took a video of it.
I have a video too.
So, you know, obviously now this isn't much of a spoiler, but there's crates you can open up in the game. I know, and there's like supplies in there, and like, again, not a spoiler, but your droid, he jumps into the crate and he wrestles around and jumps out with the item, right?
Not a spoiler. Kylo Ren and kills you at that crate. No, I'm joking.
So when you're underwater, it's the same thing, but you know, if you watch this, if you were watching this video, just try it for yourself. When you're underwater, the crate moves, but BD is still on your shoulder, and he talks like BD jumps out of the crate. And I just think, you know, that's maybe me nitpicking or whatnot, but it's something that stood out that I noticed, and I think, okay, this should have been at least polished or done properly.
I would say it was nitpicking if you only experienced just that one. For me, because you messaged me talk about glitching, because we did different areas, because when you were, and this is not a massive spoiler, but when you were first having glitches, were you on Kashyyyk? When it was just, you said you were getting frames where you'd just be walking.
No,
the
frame rate started on
and would
Zepho.
Would it just be the frame rate drop, or would it be like the screen would pause and you get a loading thing? Because I got that a few times where
I got that a lot later in the game. Yeah. But no, for me, it was literally, I would be jumping and it would be like moving like seconds, like it would literally be horrific frame rate. It happened a couple moments and then got progressively worse.
Didn't get that. I got a lot of just pauses. I got a slow. The only thing I noticed at first when I was like, is early on the game, even when I'm having no problems, and Taylor was, even some of the textures of the game or the character animations, and this happens with all games, the best games you can see, like even Death Stranding, they'll show a cutscene and maybe like a guy's gun goes through his shoulder quickly. But this was just like the suits were loading very quickly, and that happens when you switch Cal stuff. But even in cutscenes, like they'd switch to somebody and it looked very untextured and it's moving. Like it's still, like I said, again, feels like another code. It feels like it's close to being going gold, but like needs another once over. There's that. There's one boss battle. This is a minor spoiler, but it's not even that big. It's not even a huge story point. You fight a beast that can fly. And the thing is with this is there's a part where the beast is chasing after you and you have to climb a wall. And it's going after you. And I died a couple times and I'm going. And at one point the beast just disappeared. So I'm climbing and I'm like, okay. At first I thought, is this one of these things where I can't remember what game I could compare it to, but you know, some games will just give you like a skip option if it's too hard. I died like 3 times in a row with this thing. Also because it was the camera angle they give you is awful for this. It's really poorly done in my opinion. And again, I feel like sometimes people might be like, oh, they're trying to make it challenging, but I don't feel it's that. I just, even though I've not played the Souls games, I play games that can design things to be challenging, and it's like, I'm failing at this because I'm not doing well. This felt like I'm failing at this because the game can't keep up with me, or the game's not letting me do a certain thing. Like I talked about the fighting, or with this, it's like this climbing situation. It's like I can't go because I don't know where I'm at. I don't know the depth perception of how close this thing is. But anyways, they've just given me this skip shot option because I've died 3 times in a row, and the game's like, oh, screw off, like just get through this. So I'm like, okay, I'm climbing, I'm thinking, and then I'm walking, and then there's this animation where the beast picks you up, and you end up on the beast's back. And I post on my personal Twitter, you can find there, but I'm just riding this beast in the sky, but the beast is no longer there. So I'm literally just like Leia in Last Jedi. I am just flying all over the sky, and it's just Cal being like, whoa. And then there's this terrible part. I had to YouTube it because what happens is the beast kicks you on a rock, and you have to jump off the rock and time it to hit the beast. But when I had to hit the beast, there's nothing. It's just air. It's just air.
Much.
So I had to YouTube it, and I had to see where the beast would line up on the YouTube, and then on the screen try and guess where he was. There's 3 times you got to do it. 2 times I did it, did a couple tries. There was 1 try I was like, I'm going to have to restart this whole thing. And it's like, it's a long sequence too. And I'm like, I can't hit this beast at all. But it was so frustrating. I'm just skydiving because for the first little while, I'm like, why do I keep skydiving going up and up and up? I'm like, this makes no sense. And
you should have recorded all of that. That's
I only recorded the flying part. But that's the thing. The game has little glitches like that and then big glitches. And it's very frustrating. I got them in the last, which sucks is because the last, I'd say levels are really cool, the location. And I got a lot of kind of glitches, or not, like I said, I didn't get the mid stuff, but a lot of just pauses. And that's the unfortunate thing where you get when it happens so much. At the beginning, I was completely fine, had nothing, and then Taylor jinxed me when he asked me, and then just kept going and going. And it happens quite a bit, and even just little stuff like that. There's big stuff, but that little stuff you're telling like BD's on is like the animation.
Well, I don't know if that's a glitch. I think it's just they didn't bother to actually edit, because that was every crate underwater.
Yeah, which is lame if they didn't choose just to do that.
Another thing, too, that was very serious, and this made me question whether or not I was going to be able to finish the game to be able to get on this review.
Right, you had a really wild time.
Because it was horrific. It happened once on Kashyyyk, I believe. My game just... With Xbox, it's horrible when it happens, but it happens. But I've never had it happen so many times like in this game. But it started, and basically your game freezes, and then you just hear this like noise, and it's like, oh, this is horrible. And then the game just shuts itself off and goes back to the Xbox dashboard because it's the game itself. And it's like, okay, well, I went back in, and I thought I would run into that problem again in the game, but I didn't, and I kept going. And then finally, this isn't... It's not a spoiler, but obviously there's purge troopers throughout the game, and near the end of the game there is a scenario where I had to fight 2 purge troopers, and
what'd you fight them with?
Huh?
What'd you fight them with?
A lightsaber.
Oh my God, there's a lightsaber in the game.
Yeah, I'd be fighting them, and whenever I would kill about one of them or get close to killing one of them, the game did this 3 times in a row, and I thought on the 3rd time, like, okay, this is it. Like, the game is busted, and I need to wait for an update, because it would do the boo, and the screen would turn black, and then it would just go right back to the main menu of the Xbox dashboard. I thought I've never had such a horrific problem with a game before. Ubisoft doesn't treat me like this. They treat me pretty nice.
No, you got a good copy.
I thought EA, after all the support I gave them, they'd be, give me a little love, but I guess I gotta earn it a little bit more. But
so you've been pretty negative. What are some of your pros for this game?
I got a lot more cons to get into, but after pros,
mix it up a little.
Yeah,
what do you like?
I loved how the game ended. I mean, I think it had a lot of moments.
Story perspective.
Yeah, there were some things I did not expect, and I probably should have. But the way they were introduced, it had the hairs on my neck stand up, which was really good.
I liked the ending. I didn't like the end though of the
game.
Yeah.
Exactly how you said it.
We'll get in that spoilers. Yeah.
I don't like how the intro was really rushed, and
very I liked it. I liked it as a sense of I got a lightsaber right away and it was in the action, but I think the actual story elements of how they could have done it was it was very rushed, and it just I don't think because this I'll ask you more about story after, because I don't know if that's a pro for you. I think it's kind of a pro, but you still sound a little disappointed in the story.
Well, I have pieced together my own version of, I think, how the story would have been much more successful starting wise. There's another pro story element that I'll say that happens, and you probably know exactly what it is because it was all I was talking about. But it happens midway when you're learning. It's after you've learned more of your abilities through story progression, and you kind of go to another
There's a tutorial to learn the powers.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be very vague about it. You obviously know the tutorials, that environment.
And you like that, yeah.
Yeah, so then obviously the last one that you have, how that
very
story
cool.
unfolds. Yeah, I'm a huge sucker for that kind of stuff, and I wanted it so bad.
I think they do. That's the thing that I like is all the canon. It didn't feel to me, for the most part, and that's what I think about Rogue One again. It's like and Solo, there's sometimes where it feels like there's just Easter eggs or kind of canon work-ins for the sake of it, but this all felt natural, all felt like it flowed, whether it's big events or whether it's characters they hinted to, and whether they didn't show those characters or they did. To me, it all felt. That was the thing. I just thought the actual story was a little weak, but that was actually one of the strong points, is how they worked in all the canon. I will say a pro that I forgot, and I think you'll probably agree, is I love the customization ability of the lightsaber. I think that's one of the best things ever. That's something that even KOTOR didn't provide. The fact that you can change your hilt, the material, the handle, everything like that. And I won't spoil it. We'll wait till spoilers, because it might be out there, but still, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't played the game. There's something really cool you could unlock really early on or later on, and something they hid from marketing material. At least I thought. Maybe it leaked, but they didn't promote it, so it was really cool. And I will say this is like a minor spoiler, but lots of fun colors you can pick from too. That's one thing I will say. And here's another minor spoiler thing again, but I gotta say, in case people don't get that far into the spoilers section, that for months I was giving them shit about blue lightsaber, and like we always use blue lightsabers. They let you click. What was I going to say? They let you change very quickly, and they let you customize very quickly as well. And even colors, you get some pretty quickly, I'll say. So I will give them that I'll take all my criticism back, because blue is just what they want for the cover. But I was like, oh my goodness, like blue's the color we get all the time. Let's do it up. But right away, like, oh, boom, and here you go. And that's where the pros for me, that's where I think the Star Wars stuff, they know you want to play the lightsaber the right way. They know you want to change the colors. They know you want to use this cool system. And I liked making this entirely lightsaber that was my own, and another combat thing I'll show out before I forget is I absolutely love the blocking in this game as well. That's one of the most satisfying things as a Jedi, just to block those bullets. I love the timing of it. So some stuff of the combat is done perfectly. So what other pros do you got?
Just the lightsaber stuff that you were talking about. I think that was a nice, pleasant surprise. What you're referring to that you get early on in the game, I had a hunch because of the way the design portion, when you look at, like Cal's lightsaber, all that, like just by looking at it, it kind of shows like, okay, maybe there's going to be some kind of, play on that further on. But it was just a hunch. But it's
a hunch you never shared with me.
I never shared. No.
Wow.
In case it was a Travis or a Taylor told you wrong. But
a lot of those.
I thought that the lightsaber customization was super cool. I love being able to, just travel between the planets. I love going back to the planets.
I thought there was going to be more, to be honest.
That's a con too for me.
Yeah. I thought, because the way I'd heard it talked about, and then I feel like through reviews or people talking about it, I knew most of the planets going into it, which sucked because I like, these planets, and I did like the traveling aspect. But again, that's what sucks so far. We keep trying to bring up pros, but it just kind of keeps leading to some cons and whatnot. And we'll get into that. But the planets are some cons.
Screw your microphone in there a bit. You had it in backwards. Oh, you didn't?
Do your show.
I don't know. I think I'm pretty much ready to go into spoilers. I mean, I feel like most of my cons are related to spoilers, and most of my pros are connected to spoilers. So
you've no other just purely gameplay stuff?
No. I mean, the bosses were good, and definitely felt rewarding if you didn't take 30 tries to do them. And legit,
I still think it did when you beat them. There's one boss that beat me. I had to go to work, so I worked all day. I was there till 11 p.m. Then when I got home, like, oh, I can't wait. And then the first try, I beat him because I was thinking about it all day, and that felt satisfying. Of just like, yeah, screw this guy. I'm gonna kick his ass when I get home, and I really did. So.
Well, there were some bosses that I had to pop up, on forums and look, and I'm happy. I know I'm happy to know a lot of other people had trouble with the bosses I did, and they wrote in like what to just kind of like watch out for and look for. I was like, well, most of the time, like I know all of this stuff, what to look out for and what to do. But the interesting thing was no one ever talked, and this is again a spoiler. So I'm not going to go into it. I'll probably tap into it as soon as we get into the spoiler territory. But no one talked about like your weapon and the proper way to use it in certain scenarios, if you know what I mean. Because there's certain scenarios, like with multiple people where, you have to, be very specific about what you're using and doing, as opposed to just handling one opponent at once, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, but I didn't have any problems. That's what you have to explain more. I didn't feel like there was anything that I missed out on in that.
Well, there wasn't problems, but it was just more or less, being able to handle yourself in certain situations. Because I had some people say, well, there were a lot of people that didn't specify on it, but then there was like one guy I read online that he said, use this method, when fighting these bosses with your lightsaber, and it'll deal more damage or whatever, and you'll be able to get through this. And I experimented with it, and I thought, no, it leaves me open too often, and it's kind of like a pullback as opposed to the way that I kind of learned and identified. And I think it's, this kind of way of fighting with your lightsaber. I'd say that it's, a way that as soon as, you unlock it, like you do early on in the game, it's people they like it, they think it's cool, and they want to use it all the time. When you can't, you have to be you can, but it does have pullbacks at times. I realize, when it comes to doing damage and depending on the scenario.
Yeah, but I think that is all see, I don't have any cons that way, because I think that all depends on how you play, because you can use certain weapons and maybe they don't work for you, but that's where the force comes in, so you can kind of rebalance it. I agree with you. There's certain weapons I like in different situations, but I didn't feel like they didn't hide anything from me. Like, I didn't feel like I was like, oh, this wasn't explained to me. I felt like it was like them trying to let you figure it out figure it out on its own. So
maybe I'm being too vague about it, because it wasn't that they were hiding anything. I'll get into it more with spoilers, because it's hard to talk about it without being able to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else to say non-spoilers. Like I said earlier, score is really good. I think we're doing some really good Star Wars scores. Obviously, John Williams' Episode 9 should probably be good, but the Mandalorian score is fantastic right now. That guy's just killing it. This score really helped out. Especially it has some different tones, too, like the opening of the game.
Well, it had its own original pieces, and then threw in some Duel of Fates and some classic stuff.
It was a good mix, so I think that was very well done. My last thoughts are, if you're a Star Wars fan and you like games in general, definitely play this. I even think that I could justify this at a full price. If you're not a big Star Wars fan and you're just interested, like, luckily Dylan's boring it for me, but if it was not boring to me and he had to buy it fully, I'd say no, like, just wait till it's on sale. But I think if you're a huge Star Wars fan, even if you're just a fan and you want to be a Jedi, I think this game does enough. Yeah, there's some problems. Yeah, there's some glitches. Yeah, there's some things that definitely need fine-tuning. But I think it scratches that itch more than that. I think it's a really fun time. It's a game I will play again. I think it's just more that on the whole, right when I'm playing it, these cons stand out, because the good stuff is just kind of good. There's the worlds are really fun. I should say that there is not as many, and the traveling to them can be a pain. We'll get into that, but I loved the layout of all the worlds. That's where the kind of the God of War level-ish is, and you go to multiple planets, and I felt they felt like Star Wars. I felt they had the vibe of Star Wars. I like the characters that were worked into them. It all felt natural. It didn't feel out of place, so I like that. There's certain enemies I felt didn't really feel Star Wars. I'll talk about in spoilers, but some that just felt very almost Dark Souls-y. I didn't like. There's certain, like, maybe monsters or certain, like, I don't know, robots or droids, but not really. They just felt like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. This feels like a different type of game that is posing as Star Wars. But overall, I had a really good time with it. I think I'm just more down it because I was hoping for a bit better. But honestly, I was kind of worried about before. So I would say I would say I had a weird journey with it that it exceeded my expectations a few months ago, but it's when when people started talking about it that's where my expectations got a little high, and then it kind of got brought down. When I was expecting a great game, I got a pretty good game and a really fun game, and a game that I will enjoy playing again in the future. So anything else non-spoilers, Taylor?
No, I think that's it.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Geek versus Assemble.
You can start wherever you want to with spoilers.
So yeah, right off the hop, you can go to Dathomir early and you can get a double-bladed lightsaber. Now
I did that right away. This guy, he didn't even go to Dathomir right away. I had to tell him.
I'm glad that I didn't, because when I went there, it was again.
But you get your double-bladed lightsaber.
I could have, but again, when I went in there and I had to deal with the Night Brothers and everything, like it was very difficult, the monsters, and I'm glad that I leveled up a little bit and got some more abilities to handle myself, because then it was a breeze going
easy
through.
Easy peasy for me.
Well, you're on a difficulty lower than I was.
Just that good?
But I don't know if it works like that.
Oh yeah.
But so basically, there's certain scenarios, and got a hair in my mouth. Oh, fuck.
What's Taylor doing before this cast?
Oh,
I think Taylor.
got it.
Okay.
So there's one boss named Malicos, and fuck me sideways if this guy Malicos, whatever his name is.
The dual-bladed guy?
Yeah.
I thought his name started with a T. Like if
it does. His last name is Malicos. So that's just what Marin calls him. So I just call him Malicos.
Continue.
So he is God. Now I don't.
He's the hardest boss of the game.
No.
Who do you think was harder?
Trillo. The final fight against Trilla.
No.
100%. She was way harder.
See, this is where the difference is. I felt that for me, and yeah, I'm playing on a difficulty level, but still, like, the difficulties would be that, where the last one would be hard. I felt because I fought her twice previously that I had known an idea. Like, because when you fight her the second time, she does that spin kick to you. So I was like, oh, I know this is coming. So for me, that's why, honestly, I didn't die once fighting her. What's his name? Malicos? Malicos. He's the guy that I died, had to go to work. I died about probably 4 times before, and then I came back and creamed his ass. It was great. I was just
creamed
his
ass.
I found out that just force pushing his ass everywhere, that was the best method, because he just couldn't recover. He'd be down and you just slash him. But before, when you get him to that half bar health, he's just spinning, and like that's the thing that it was strange where, yeah, it felt like you could block it, and you have a block bar, but then it just felt like at times the block bar would still be halfway, and it wouldn't even go down. It was just like he just got you. And it's like, this doesn't make sense. So that's what I was talking about earlier, too, like certain boss battles. The other one, too, was that's the creature. The creature you fly on, I felt that was... Sure, there's creatures in Star Wars, but that didn't feel Star Wars to me. That felt a little too, like, vampire Van Helsing hunter, like it man.
I think it fit with Dathomir, because Dathomir is like, it fits that kind of vibe. You got undead Night Sisters. It's a very hellish planet.
I guess it's just a giant bat, and for me, it just didn't do it. We talk about in Clone Wars, there's some stuff that I just feel doesn't fit, and this was one of those. The other one, I'll get back in the boss battle, but was the Tomb Guardians. That felt very Dark Soul-y to me, like they were like very medieval looking, and they had that armor. I was like, this isn't Star Wars. We've seen nothing like this at all as far as like main canon, and I feel like, well, there's lots of other canon stuff in here, like the Night Sisters is big. So, but I just felt like for the stuff that's really known, they took some liberties. You got to do that when you're doing video games, but there's times like this doesn't feel like Star Wars. But for me, yeah, it was a problem. To me, he was the hardest. But when I fought Trilla, I beat her one time because I had already realized what her attacks were. I was probably really confident I was going in. I was kicking ass, and I had what lightsaber did you pick at the end when you got all of them?
Oh, I was using purple.
Oh, I was using pink. The first time, is that the first time ever there's been a pink lightsaber? Indigo? I don't think there's ever been pink.
I don't think so.
So I got that right away. I'm running around my pink double blade lightsaber. Oh yeah. The only thing they got to do now is make a dual bladed double colored one, so I could have green and pink for for Joker.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
But yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Lots of colors. Good. No red though. Yeah.
No red, which I was surprised actually.
Has everyone unlocked all the lightsabers? Like, have you gone and look and see it? Because I haven't explored everything, so I was wondering if there was a.
I have to take another look because I never got my pre-order one. I don't know why. It's just again another fucking con with this game, but.
I think that's an Xbox thing, my friend, because I got and I didn't even pre-order the game, and I got.
I know. I have no idea, but.
Did you re-put the code in just to make sure?
Yeah. Like, I know part of it worked because I got my skins for my outfit and my mantis and all that stuff. At the end of the day, I don't care. I got my purple and I'm happy. But, yeah, so fighting Malicos, it really threw me sideways. And that's where, okay, after like the 30th attempt, like
30.
This got crazy because
yeah, I bet so.
It got to the point where
Taylor's
I was like, okay,
yelling.
I'm gonna do one of my grind out sessions. It's like an hour and a half later, and I was like, I wasted my entire fucking night trying to kill fucking Malicos.
You really did.
And
you didn't adapt quick enough, my son.
But here's the thing: I was adapting and I was learning, but then he was doing these things that wouldn't give me the opportunity to properly break. It's like with Trilla, there'd be a scenario where she would do what would happen? She would do one of her unavoidable spinning attacks, and so I would roll out of the way.
Yeah, it's all about the dodge.
Right after she would do that, she would immediately time it with her ground slam, and the ripple would go. And as soon as I'm blocking, well, you can't though. And I tried and I experimented. You could not jump, and it would land. And I thought, okay. So the best I could do was just kind of keep my distance and let her come after me, and then I could change and manipulate the way of the battle. But again, there was just certain scenarios. Nice sock.
Leave my sock alone. It has a hole in it. Calm down.
There are certain scenarios that it totally just sent me for a loop. And this is again what I mentioned with the lightsaber. Some people online said, okay, against Malicos, you want to use that double-bladed lightsaber against him. You know, you can deal more damage and all that kind of stuff.
But I found it better with the single.
Exactly. And that's what I used with Trilla. You know, the single blade, it just had so many aspects to it that were quicker and faster. The double blade, you know, it would be different.
It's damage dealer. I found the double blade worked better on big enemies. The spider, when you fight that ninth sister or whatever, any enemies that were bigger, those were the ones that double blade because you're dealing more damage. So that worked. Any enemies that were quicker, I used the single blade because for me, I felt I timed my parries better with more precision. Same thing with blocking. Anything I had to do, if I was on the defense and it was a defense enemy, I was like, okay, I'm going single blade. And every once in a while, I bust up the double quickly just to do some damage. But with big enemies, like I said, the ninth sister, I was double blading all over the place.
That's interesting because with the ninth sister, like I had a little bit of difficult with her. Like all the previous fights with Trilla,
31
the second
times.
sister, excuse me, it was all like first try. And the ninth sister was a couple times, but I realized, excuse me, and I was still popping off with like my double blades, but then I realized, okay, no, like I can't do that against her. I need to use my single blade, and I was able to be quicker than her and land my hits faster than she could, which is weird because I'd feel like, you know, when you're using a double bladed lightsaber against someone who also has a double bladed lightsaber or two lightsabers, I feel like it would even out, but it didn't. You know, I found that, you know, the single blade works really, really well. And then there's a certain part in the game where I wish that they could have allowed you, because I love being able to just instantly change while you're fighting.
Yeah, that I should have said that in non-spoilers. That's one of the best because, like, KOTOR, you have to, like, pause and go in the menu. This is literally, you hit right switch, it's double blade, you hit left switch, it goes back to single blade. And that's a bravo. Like, that's, like, they do little touches like that that do feel very Star Wars fan service in the great way of, like, you want to just be able to, just like in the movies and the shows, you want to be able to choose single blade and double blade just like that, and that was fantastic. So big ups to them on that one.
I do wish that, because you can time one of your combos to pull your lightsaber apart and you swing and come down, which is sick. That's one of my favorite moves. It does. I just wish that there was a third option, you know, and this is me just being greedy. It's not a con, but I would have loved it to just, you know, Force Unleashed 2, be able to have two dual single blades, and then, like you said, change the colors of them. That would have been like the creme de la creme. But
McClunky.
It's yeah, it's just some of those bosses just really took me out, because like my second last try, where my last try on Malicos, I killed him. And my second last try, his health got really low. And then, you know, sometimes
that's what you got to do on the defense. You made the mistake. You're like, I'm gonna just go really quick and get him.
No, but no. Yeah, I'm not really going in quick and getting him, because again, I have to realize, okay, I got to use my force powers. But then once you run out of force powers, then it's like, okay, now I got to really time my moves and land them to regain some force energy.
Use your force lightning.
What?
Use your force lightning.
Force lightning?
Yeah.
I definitely don't have force lightning yet. I've invested my points in other things.
I'm joking. That's not in there.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say shit. I put a lot of my points into like the lightsaber throws because I love using that, and I wish that they were more stronger against like some of the bosses and stuff. I felt like they didn't hold their own. I love the dual saber.
That's honestly how I took a lot of life away from Trilla, so it worked for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I found when she would be throwing her lightsaber, I would just parry it and it would take a chunk out of her.
That was badass when that happened.
But I loved like one of the combos that you can do is you have the dual blade on and you do like a spin, flip, slash, and then use the force and spin your dual blade around. It's like super sick. And that's a good, a good pro as well. All the moves and the abilities were very fun to use and learn and everything like that. And
yeah, no, other than his force slow, nothing like new powers. But I was fine with that because you're playing with light side user. You're not playing with someone massively strong. And I think like a Sith, you'd have more of those like wilder powers. So like other than the slow time, it's your push pull, like the lightsaber throw, stuff like that. But I liked it. I thought they were all well done. I forgot that the boss battle when I was talking about non-spoilers, but the rolling was that bat thing again, where like the thing would come down, or sometimes it would slash, and it's like, well, I rolled the exact same time. And I know somebody would be like, oh no, you didn't, but like there's times where I rolled the exact same time, or I'd be standing at its belly and it would like slash like its two arms and no damage, like 3 times in a row, no damage, and then one time I'd be standing in the exact same spot and it would do it, and it would just hit me. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. The game to me just established that I can't get hit there. So.
See, the bird, that flying owl thing, or bat owl, has like an owl face. I beat it on my first try. Like I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah, well, you also probably didn't have the thing disappear on you halfway throughout the battle.
Xbox.
Yeah. You don't even get your pre-order. Don't Xbox. And at least my PS4 isn't making plane sounds like when you're playing the game.
Yeah, it's fair enough. When you were playing the game,
it doesn't matter what's happening. Leave it alone. Keep talking.
Did you unlock the ability where you use a stim pack and it rejuvenates your force? Yeah. Okay, see, now there's another thing too. I didn't use that yet. I didn't activate that.
Rookie move. I before I went on and get all the lightsaber stuff, and like lightsaber does all this damage. It's all about the force, man, and I expect more from you. You're a big chert guy. The force is one. I'm one with the force. Where the fuck that guy mumbles to himself. I can't believe you.
I didn't look at it as that I needed right away. And maybe that's like kudos to me. I beat the game on Jedi Master without using that force rejuvenation
used
thing.
Other things though.
Well, I spent it mostly into like my combos and stuff like that. So
the brag would be like, and I didn't use any skill points. Then you could brag, but.
Maybe. How many stim packs did you find and use total?
I have 5 right now.
See, I did it with 4. This is something I can brag about. What was I going
brag about those 30 times with Malekith.
All right, Malicos. So
and fucking Malekith, and that character. I don't know. We're gonna get into story spoilers soon. He was. I don't know. He was a little cheesy.
Came out of nowhere. But so with Malicos, my second to last attempt fighting this guy. Now, there's scenarios where I'm playing games and like I love my girlfriend, very very much.
Oh, here we go. Taylor's a single man now, ladies and gentlemen. Not again.
There's just moments where. You're in the zone and you don't want to be bugged. You don't want, after your 29th attempt of fucking getting destroyed by Malicos, you don't want someone talking to you and trying to, as nice as it is, and I have no hard feelings, not at all, but they're trying to talk to you and just, talk to you about something on Facebook or whatever, and I'm knees deep in fucking Malicos sweat right now. And, I thought that this would have been the time that I got Malicos. His health was low, and then all of a sudden some fucking low blow comes in and he swings and he kills me.
I thought you were saying about Madison.
No.
Fucking low blow.
No.
She's ripping my pants off and said, "Babe, I'm playing my game. Leave me alone. No low blows tonight."
She was talking to me, and like it's just when someone's talking, it pulls your mind out of it. Because it's
like focus like a Jedi.
It's like, why can't you button mash? And I'm thinking in my head the numbers crunching. And I'm like, no, I can't button mash. And
why can't you button up?
I can't say a response to. And so I'm still concentrating, not responding.
There's
and
a pause button.
I can't pause, no, because I'm in the zone. And this was so close. I was so close to killing him on this attempt. And yeah, as I said, he low blows and swings at me and he kills me. And I immediately stand up, walk out of the room. I screamed. I was like, fuck! Yeah, I turn around and point. I pointed at the TV.
At Madison. You did this. Not again. So I'm running joke here.
I turned around.
You did this.
The cats all ran.
You turned the game against me. I want to bring peace to this game and order to the Xbox.
Oh. So all the cats run out of the room.
Oh my god!
I point
this
at
is
the
a Jerry
TV.
Springer episode.
I pointed at the TV and I said,
just karate chop it.
I pointed at the TV and I said, if there's ever a fucking time I was ever so close to fucking beating Malikos, it was this fucking moment, and I fucking lost. And I knew everyone in the house, my neighbors could hear me. When I sat down, and I hate it because then that fucking respawn hit A pops up, and I gotta run through the fucking Night Brothers. Yeah. I get into the little crack, and then one swings and hits me. I'm like, fuck. This just fucking sucks. Oh.
I never got hit once by them. They're always there's someone they were so close, and so close, but then got in the crack. So that whole situation was not great, but.
It really.
Now I know the cops were at your house.
That battle like really pulled me out and really ruined like a good chunk of that game for me. Because like getting to Dathomir, this random Jedi turned Dark Force user was just shunned into the fucking story, and now I had to kill this son of a bitch. Thank God for Marin like popping in and helping me every now and again, but
I think like the getting kicked back complaints are valid. I just think this guy kicked your ass a lot. I don't think all of them are valid. I won't lie. Stuff. It's not the smoothest.
Fucking
but
sent me to school.
Yeah. Oh man. What do you want to talk about more as far as the story goes? We can start talking about that because I don't think I have many more gameplay stuff.
As far as the story goes, I'll just say like there were a few moments where I feel like they focused like heavily on these moments in the story, like the Zephos and even Saul Guerrero. I feel like there were these certain moments and characters where they were played important roles in the story, but then they never touched upon them again. I feel like the Zepho was very underwhelming. I didn't even realize I was being talked to by the Zepho guy when I was in the cutscene because I was walking around and
he's a hologram right there.
When I was walking around and then until like I turned at the end and looked up, I'm like, oh shit, there's a guy right here talking to me. Because I was just exploring. I just thought it was one of those sequences again. But again, even with Saw Gerrera, they left it on an open note that maybe you'll join him. But then they left it completely open. Again, it was like a safe ploy. And it was just kind of upsetting.
I don't think they're going to do DLC, but I think that's for if they want to do a sequel.
I think we'll definitely get a sequel.
Well, yeah, I think the game was going to sell no matter what, but the fact that, and that's the thing, we still have positive stuff to say about it. We buy it, we would get the sequel, I imagine, right? I think that's the thing where people will still buy it because it's a good Star Wars. And that's what I would say is like, it's still, Taylor can defend the Battlefronts. I like the Battlefronts. I have them both, but for a good, really good, like I think above average Star Wars game, I think this is that. I think it is really fun, and I think this will sell, and I think people will get behind it. Mm-hmm. I think it was a fun adventure and a fun to explore and a fun journey. So I think as far as Star Wars games the past recent years, it's definitely up there. I'd say it's. I'm not gonna go top 5, maybe top 10 in the lower spectrum, but and that's where the good stuff is. It just sounds like we're really negative, but I didn't like the so. We'll get into Trill. I liked her backstory. I didn't really love Sierra. I didn't really love the alien. I didn't really like any side character. Yeah, Grease. And I didn't like, what was the name of the Night Sister?
Marin.
Man, first of all, super hot. We're talking about
I know. I was big crushing on her.
Yeah, no wonder, man.
I'm not like, well, you're an Asajj fanboy, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Asajj all the way.
I never found like the Night
Sisters.
I never found the Night Sisters to be like particularly like one of my favorite aliens, but like we talked on like a After 9 like alien kind of thing.
Exclusive.
Throw a Night Sister in there like Marin, like yeah, I'm very intrigued. I go on a date with her.
Yeah, I would have had a chance to Asajj when I was single, but fucking Beckett apparently killed her off screen, so that's great. So all the characters in general, the Night Sister though, she was fun, but man, was she just thrown in. Like she's just there because at one point Cal, is that the very end she saves you or at the before the ending? Because the Night Sister does save Cal when he's in the water.
Yeah,
or something,
she
right?
swims down and saves
That's
you.
at the end, right?
That's at the end.
It felt like that's the only reason she was there. So if you didn't play the game, you're just following along. You go to Dathomir and the Malikoth or whatever his name is. Malikos. He like lied to the Night Sisters and said that they were going to fight for something together, and he just like used them to get their powers, and she's kind of the leader of them. She talks to Cal and is like, this isn't right, I want to change, and they work together, and that boss battle, she kind of helps you out. And then she decides that, I can't really change anything just staying on this planet, so I'm going to go with you. This is like, I don't know, is this the third to last level? Because is this before your? Yeah, no, because
you go from
you beat him
her,
and then your lightsaber gets broken, right? And then you go.
Well, you meet her on Dathomir, and then your lightsaber gets broken. Then
you
go to Ilum, and then you go back to Dathomir.
yeah.
And then she comes with you.
So she's really there for like the third or fourth last mission of the game, and
But it depends because like we went to Dathomir early, so we got to be introduced to her early on.
But that's fine. I mean her joining the crew. Why did she need she makes it to me when she joined, she's like, we're going to make a difference together. That to me felt like that was the middle of the game still. And I knew it wasn't because I had heard people say it's about 20 hours. I'm like, okay, I'm getting on that kind of same time thing. But she's there, and then she's on the ship. She's just like, can we trust her? Like, oh, we trust him, but we got to learn your trust. And then she saves Cal at the end. But that's it. Like she
Trust earned.
She does nothing other than that. So she felt like she was literally there just to set up a sequel. And we'll get into like the actual like ending with Trilla and the big surprise, which wasn't a big surprise. We all knew it was gonna come, but I think it's still something you should do. But at the end, it's like so you get through all this. I'll just say it. Darth Vader's in this game. He's the final boss in a way. He's not really a boss you fight. He's just like a environmental boss. Well, kind of, yeah. And I have some problems with that. So you escape Darth Vader, the Night Sister saves you, and when it brings you up, they like the whole crux is finding this holocron that has all locations of Force sensitive #Force babies or Force people, and they decide what are we gonna do with it? We can't let the Empire get it, and they just destroy it. But then the way it ends, it just feels so sequel-y. It feels like it's not a cliffhanger, but it's just like, well, where to next? And they look, and it doesn't feel like the way where a good movie ends, where you've gone on such a grand adventure, and you're like, yeah, what could be next? It just literally felt like nothing too consequential happened because Trilla died, but none of your main characters died. You just got this Night Sister who it's like I feel like her character and story is not really developed, like why she's on the crew. So it feels like there should be more, and that's the thing. Like it is 20 hours. I'm not complaining. I didn't need more, but the way the game ended felt like there should be more, and I didn't like that because that just really felt like we're not gonna kill Cal off because we really want to get a sequel. This felt like doing a cliffhanger without a cliffhanger, and it was just. I was not a fan of the ending. So what do you want to talk about? And you can even lead off the Vader talk after. But
the ending, it definitely felt lackluster. I'll say, like I'm happy and excited to get a sequel for this game because I absolutely want one. Yes, I point out a lot of negative things, but I think a sequel would
they can improve. Maybe it gets more time.
It would be polished. More time. Absolutely, and I think that they can expand on so many things that they did so well in this game, and it has me super excited. But the way it ended was just kind of low key. The Darth Vader stuff, especially. I think Darth Vader was absolutely awesome. I think it was fantastic and amazing, and just even like his reveal too was there was no score. It was quiet. You hear the footsteps, you hear the breathing, and you can tell that Trilla is just she's stuck in the Force, a Force hold, and then
she?
Oh yeah, she couldn't move. You could hear him actually. I think the sound effect of him using the Force, and that's why she couldn't move.
I'll have to watch it. I thought she was just that frightened by him.
No, well, that's another thing too. The look on her face, absolutely terrifying.
I'll watch that cutscene again because I just took it that she was that scared, and that's why she didn't move. She was like petrified. He just takes her out very easily.
This is again where I almost gave this game like a really low hit mark here because I beat Trilla and I had low health left and no stims, and then Vader pops in as the boss, and I thought I had to fight him, and I looked at Max and I said, "What the fuck is this? I gotta fight him." I didn't get to a fucking meditation point. It's gonna reset me, and all of a sudden it went to a cutscene, and then I had to run away. I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. I can still escape." That was part of it, and then he force pushed me off the edge. I thought, okay. Now, I didn't get a meditation point. If I have to fight Trilla again after 15 times, I was yelling to Madison, I'm going to give this a low fucking mark, Madison.
He's taking his belt off. Somebody's going to pay. Somebody's going to pay.
Luckily, though.
It's not EA.
Luckily, it did not set me back, so that was fine. I was like, okay, this game is good in my books, but...
So I liked it. I liked the lead up to it. I liked him with Trilla. I liked his dialogue. I don't think they used James Earl Jones, which is good because I just think James Earl Jones is too old. It bugged me in Rogue One. So there's many great voice doubles out there. So that was all good. The vibe was good. The feel, he felt scary. I just thought they made him tad way too powerful in this moment. He was no, I'm not saying Vader couldn't do that, but just the fact he's on the ship and he's just literally, they make it like he's the fucking Sandman, Spider-Man. Like the entire ship is like crumbling. There's segments, things going off. He's just randomly killing stormtroopers, which never happens in the movies. He doesn't just.
Where was Vader killing stormtroopers?
They're on the they're on the ledges and they were falling. Like this was the thing. I felt Vader with all his powers. They were using them in a very grandiose way that took me out as far as, like, you look at Rogue One, and I don't love that movie, but I love that scene as far as he's using his powers left, right, and center, but it feels like he's going directly towards it, and they just scrape and get away. This was just felt like Cal should not get away because the amount he's using his powers, it's like let's say Cal's on a platform, and then there's all this stuff on the side. It's all folding and thrown down, and it's just like, why isn't Vader just throwing the one platform he's on? And even then, why isn't he just taking all this stuff and just chucking it all at Cal? Like, it made it too video game. It made it too, like, Uncharted, where it's like, oh, run on the wall platform. Oh, here's a little thing you got to dodge and deke in between. It's just, that to me did not feel like Vader, where it's just like, Vader, there had to be some obstacles, and no one was fighting him. That would have been different to me if I would have liked because they throw Sierra, which makes no sense. She runs after Vader. He throws her off this ledge, and you're assuming down below it looks like there's just lava down there. So they don't explain how she survives. I would have bought it more if Cal's running. He has to escape, but in the background, Sierra's like trying to fight him off. That's why he can't get to you. But I think a Vader with no obstacles whatsoever should have just been able to destroy Cal. Even then, at one point, like, when you first start the thing, he's really close to you. This motherfucker has force choked people through computer monitors, and I just did not buy that he couldn't get Cal where he was. I think they made it too video gamey, too like I said, like an Uncharted sequence of now, because that's what happens. He'll throw stuff against the wall, and then it's like, oh, wall jump against that. It took me out of it. It did not feel realistic to Vader or Star Wars. I think all the lead up and the character stuff of Vader did, but that felt too video gamey. I did not enjoy that. So
see, I guess I'm on the opposite end of that, because like with him pulling the platforms down, like I liked it because they weren't instantaneous. The platforms were like looked like they were like ripping off of their mounts as you were running on them, which I could buy, instead of it just him ripping them off and then floating there for a bit. It looked like he was trying to like break them off or whatever. And like even as soon as you go out that door and he force pushes you, he like throws all those like metal sheets of the ground and everything at you. So it feels like, okay, there's some moments there where you gotta like avoid it, and he's like, it feels like he's throwing everything he has at you. And again, like I just think when he was revealed in there and just seeing how terrified Trilla was, because like even in part of the comics when this, Palpatine introduces Vader to the Inquisitorius, they don't know who Vader is, and they think that they're some top dog kind of like group of Force users, and they go in to like teach Vader a lesson, and Vader just wrecks them, because he's there, he leads them, he trains them, and you gotta hold up with him. And that's what the relationship between Vader and the Inquisitorius is. Very, very interesting and very cool. And again, like seeing him take out obviously the second sister was intense, and it was nice to see her actually show a little bit of redemption in that. I really liked that.
Redemption?
Yeah, because she said to Sarah, "Avenge us," and I like that because like she obviously she was a very awesome Inquisitor. She's one of my favorites actually, and she definitely showed like she was tortured and evil because of obviously what Sarah did, and we'll get into that story aspect after, but how that led to this moment with Vader, it was just super awesome. And when Vader was coming at you, like it just had me on edge, terrifying. Like when you're playing Friday the 13th and Jason is just on your ass.
Yeah,
and
I think they still could have done that. I just think they didn't have to go so grandiose and make it so, like I said, like comic booky in a way. And if you do, then I feel like I would have been fine with that if Cal dies, but Cal gets out of it unscathed, no scars, no lost limbs. It's just like, woo, I outran Vader, and it's like you outran Vader, and it's just like, and that's thing that happens in Rogue One, but there's dozens of guys in between. There's doors closing. This is literally just Vader on a platform. Nothing is interfering with him at all, and there's just a Jedi right in front of him, and it's just like Vader, baby's first day of being Vader, and it's like this has been what, 5 years?
I wouldn't say
how many years after. It's 5 years after the Purge, right?
5, yeah.
Anakin Skywalker is already pretty strong, and this is 5 years later.
I wouldn't say he didn't get out without any scars, because Vader activated his lightsaber on him, and it got him right in his side.
Well, barely.
And then he passed out when he was out swimming in the water or whatever. But
because it was cold.
No, this I would say, at this point in time, like when Vader turned to the dark side, unlike here's the difference between Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, like
Trilla, I think they should have gave a different hair color because sometimes she just looked like Kylo Ren because she had the all black.
Yeah.
And from far she was just like long black hair, like those wide eyes with bags under them. Yeah. It was funny, but she was a good character.
With Kylo Ren, he killed Han Solo. Spoiler alert. And it broke him apart. He was obviously torn. But with Vader doing everything that Anakin doing everything that he did, it completely, especially when Padme was taken out of the equation, he completely just, he wasn't broken anymore. And this is from my point of view. Obviously, there are times when he tried to heal himself, when he was trying to, reestablish what he used to be, like going in those Bacta tanks and stuff like that all the time. But he is someone that embraced.
His life was over when Padme died.
Yeah,
his like Anakin life until he found out about Luke.
Yeah,
obviously, right?
He embraced, and obviously he learned, and he became this like a powerful tool of the Emperor. And you see it in shows like Rebels, obviously, like when they drop tons of like stuff onto him, and all of a sudden, like, you just see, like, the walker lifting up or whatever, and he's just lifting it with one hand using the Force and drops it, and it just continues walking unscathed. He is an unstoppable force that just comes at you, and that's what makes him so terrifying, and why, I love that scene in Rogue One again, because he's just this scary, unrelenting thing coming towards you. And then even in the original trilogy as well, he's just this terrifying thing that's just there. You open the door and he's there. You're going to have dinner with Lando and the door opens and he's there. Just like in this, Cal is going and the door opens and he's right there. And then again, this is one of my favorite scenes that I didn't expect, was just that when he Force pushes he smashes you and Cal flies back, uses the Force to pull his lightsaber to him, and then Vader stops it. And Vader's just talking down to him or whatever. And Cal, he's trying to get his lightsaber, and then Vader says a line, and then you see the lightsaber rotate and turn on and point at him and jab towards him, and he grabs it. I absolutely love that. I love when they do stuff like that with their lightsabers.
But see, that's what I mean. Between that and like the door opening, I feel like the moments that work better are the smaller ones. Even though he can like destroy some huge thing, I think those little intimate moments, like when they make him scary like that, that's what the Rogue One thing to me works, is because it's just in a hallway. That's where I think I got lost with a little bit. I got too not personal. It was just too video gamey. Vader, that could have been anybody. That could have been Palpatine throwing that stuff. I loved the turning of the lightsaber, because that was like, oh man, he's just gonna like decapitate Cal right here. Is he done for it? I loved all those moments you're talking about.
Well, it's funny because it reminded me very much of like a Rebels moment when like Vader is holding, like Ezra up against this wall, and Ezra's got his lightsaber, and then Vader uses the Force to make Ezra lower his lightsaber up to cut his head off. Like, it's just like this. It's a very Vader thing, I find, like, that he would do, very brutal. And I loved when Seer, Vader could hear the noise in the background, and his head turns, and Seer comes in and spins her lightsaber around, and he obviously parries it. And then she comes in, and this scene is one of my favorite scenes in this game. And again, it was in a cutscene for Star Wars Battlefront 2, actually, when you see Luke fighting Vader, and Vader's one-handing it, and just he's advancing on you and just one-handing with his lightsaber. And that's just, it feels terrifying because he's so powerful. Again, they did that in Rebels with Kanan fighting Vader, and he's just one-handing, Kanan. And again, like in this, you see Seer fighting, and Vader is just pushing forwards, and he's just one-handing, like, it's so, like, terrifying, and he knocks her down. And then I like it because I definitely wasn't sure how I felt about her character, but this scene I feel like added a lot more to it for me when she tapped into the dark side, and then Vader started, not taunting her, but like tempting her, saying, you would have been a great Inquisitor. I can feel how powerful you are, the dark side. It's just, it's scary.
But that's where I hate that. I feel like she starts to get interesting, and then, because I don't actually find her that interesting throughout the game, she's just like, okay, she used to be a Jedi, that's cool. It's slowly revealed like her backstory with Trilla, but it feels like, again, right when we're getting her using the dark side, oh, that's something interesting, but then it's like, oh, we're gonna save more of that for the sequel, which again, that's where the sequel could be good, but then for her story, I still feel, again, that feels like that's a little half-baked, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. I really liked, and I wish I could kill Purge Troopers as fast as she fucking did, 3 of them. Like, jeez, that was super cool.
I could. I just gotta wait for them on a ledge and then force push. That's my favorite move. Anytime you're on a ledge, you're gone. You're out of there. You're home run.
Yeah, I wish fucking bosses were the same way with that.
Yeah.
Fucking knock Malicos off that fucking platform.
I really like the talking about mini bosses. I love the bounty hunters when they got put in there. That was lots of fun.
They were so annoying at times.
They were. Oh yeah. Did you lose to the first one when you encountered a bounty hunter?
On Kashyyyk.
Well, I'm not
the
sure
first one I encountered were the two dudes, not the droid and the other guy.
I can't remember the first guy, but whenever you lost one, did they take you to a separate planet and you had to run out of there and fight in an arena and stuff like that?
Well, that's part of the story, isn't it?
But that's what I mean. So you're supposed to lose it on purpose at one point, are
yes.
you? Okay.
Yeah,
then I don't feel as bad. Then I never lost again to a bounty hunter.
Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay.
No, that happened, and yeah, that was
I was like, man,
definitely...
they came out, and I was like, I really gotta watch my health bar because I just. When the story did happen, I did figure, like, okay, but then I was wondering, like, oh, is there a thing where if you win that, did you not go there? Or was this like a fun little side thing? But, okay, fair enough. But I liked that. I liked that bounty hunters are showing up. I liked this little side, like, mini side quest. You go into a different, like, world for a second, like, in this battle arena. So, I like that. And that's some of the stuff with Star Wars they did. I liked all the planets. I loved, which has pretty much been confirmed, Starkiller Base, right? Ilum or whatever? Ilum?
Ilum, I don't believe is not
Look
confirmed.
I'm pretty sure people are saying it's Starkiller Base because
even
the
of all like the digging ins and stuff.
Well, yeah, the kyber crystals, and then even if you look at the shape of it, it looks very similar. And I'm pretty sure the writer of the video game says like, oh, because he put an Easter egg of he named a Jedi after his father that had passed away, and he said, oh, this is on a planet, and he said, I can't say the name right now, and then he started to tell the rest of his story, which one, really fun Easter egg, good for that guy. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a theory, or it's either confirmed right now. If that's the case, that's really cool. But I really like that planet, because I love Star Wars and snow in general. Hoth is great, but also Rey and Kylo's, and even Finn's lightsaber fight is very underrated. Some of those beautiful Star Wars going on. But, yeah, you haven't heard of this, eh?
No, I haven't. I mean, it's definitely interesting.
I think it's...
like, Ilum has been, like, ventured in like, the Clone Wars and everything like that.
Yeah, I think it might be confirmed. But if not, don't take me to the bank.
I just thought that... I didn't think Ilum was in the unknown regions, which is what I'm finding hard time believing here. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it totally could make sense. I didn't think that they would again need kyber crystals because the planet uses the sun, right? So
well, maybe that's plan B.
And again, why would the Emperor at this time be working and developing this when they were only harvesting kyber crystals, and why'd they be building?
But no, maybe First Order knew about it, and they've had this plan in their backlog, and then when they came in, like, yeah, let's take over that planet and use it.
You saying the First Order knew about this planet and had it
maybe
in their backlog? Because then they wouldn't have been able to build this in 30 years.
How long did Starkiller Base was taken to build? You don't know. Exactly.
Yeah.
Boom.
I don't know.
But anyways, Kid Taylor's all worried about canon now. I say, I don't know those planets.
I'm panicking.
As far as Storm, I'm trying to think of anything else. I thought pacing was good, other than the beginning was very rushed, very quick. I liked the setup of Cal and his friend, and then he saves him with the Force. Obviously, you've seen the trailer. And then they don't really show, but somehow the Empire knows that somebody's used the Force. They're like, all right, they don't show that how. And then they line everyone up, and they're like, we're going to kill all of you unless someone reveals who the Force user is. Cal's alien friend gets up, and he just does this whole speech about, like, being oppressed and like held back, and now we gotta stand up. But sometimes it didn't make sense. It sounded like he was actually gonna reveal Cal. He's like, we need to show the enemy, or we need people to show their true face, or something like that. It was a weird speech. He gets killed right away.
Didn't do any justice for anyone.
No, and then and then you jump right into story, and I think you needed a little bit more time of Cal on the run. Like, I didn't want too long because I didn't need that in this particular game, but it just felt like that was very rushed in the story, and it felt a little sloppy. So I think you could have used even half an hour more, just the pacing. And I liked getting into it right away, but it was at almost the expense of the story, which was unfortunate. I think there's other ways to get into that. So, yeah, that was my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely was just so rushed into it. And for me, I think that obviously there are these training sessions where you learn your new abilities, and you're like a youngling on a
those were fun.
Venator cruiser, which is cool, and your master's telling you or whatever. And I feel like those were learning your abilities, and they were also meant to help you focus and learn a bit more about your master, which I feel like they didn't do a good job, which was upsetting because it led to your final training session where it had a very emotional and epic moment with your master that you connect with. And I feel like, okay, this is obviously, to me, the missed opportunity. Now, I think that the game.
Spoil it. We're in spoilers. It was Order 66 that happened.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
You were just like a very impactful, emotional. You could say it, you know.
But I think that at this point now, for the way the game should have started was we should have got, you know, young Cal like doing one of your training sessions, just a random one, and then you go through like a nice period, you know, like maybe like 20 minutes or so where you're like your dialogue with your master or whatever, and then you're walking through the Venator cruiser and you're talking to the clone troopers, and you know, you even high five one of them. Like it's building, and throughout that whole part of the game, I realized, okay, I know what's coming because they were really building it up, and I the feels really started to hit me because Order 66. Whenever I watch Revenge of the Sith, it's just such an emotional moment for me.
Taylor's Yoda.
Yeah, I am. But
the problem is you couldn't do that at the beginning because you needed those training sessions.
You did, but I feel like those could be revisited, and you know, he could have had like they could have done flashbacks still, but it could have been after the fact. I feel like
kind of. It would be a little weird though if you have the character get killed off and then I think you have to find it in. I don't know if they have the capability to do it as well because so you start the game and then he gets killed off and then you go back to him, which is
it's true, but
you know.
I feel like they could have played or managed it. It could have been him remembering him doing things like that, or you know,
exactly what the
reconnect.
Was.
It could have been like obviously there's something in front of you that requires you to do this ability, and then it shows Cal like thinking and like his eyes open and connects to something in the Force, and then it like freezes and it gives you a thing. Hit this to do this ability, and you do it. It didn't have to be a whole training session, I feel like, but take that moment and put it to the beginning of the game where you experience Order 66, you connect with your master, you go through that emotion, and it sets up the story, and then, you know, all of a sudden, though everything happens, you're in the escape pod, and then, boom, Cal opens his eyes or whatever, and it's like, you know, 5 years later, or however you put it on Braca, or, you know, it shows, like, the screen, the score kicks in, the screen fades to dark, and it says 5 years later, and it shows Cal working, you know. I feel like that would have been a good segue. It would have made the beginning longer and a little bit more not as rushed. It would have got us right into that story because I loved how that story unfolded, and you finally get to your master, and when he's having like his migraines, and you see the clone trooper behind him pull out like the holocron and or the hologram, and I started to like I started to fucking panic because he pointed the gun right at the master's head. I was like, no, and then he just boom 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 kills him. I thought, thank fuck, you know, and then
they still got him though.
Well, it took a lot of them to get him.
They still got him though. He's still dead.
You know, eventually
and
when
Cal's
there's like
still dead.
when there's 30 dudes, well, we don't know Cal's dead.
Where is he in A New Hope?
In A New Hope? I don't
dead.
know. Ezra's alive in A New Hope.
Well, he's off somewhere else. So I hate canon.
Oh, I love a canon.
There were like 16 other Jedis. Like Luke's supposed to be this New Hope, this special Jedi, the first one back, and then it's like, oh, we have this blind Jedi around. Then we have Cal, and now we have Syria, and now we have all like.
Fun fact for you:
some
people are thinking that when in Empire Strikes Back, when Yoda says no, there is another, that he's not referring to Luke, he's referring to Rey.
First of all, he was never referring to Luke; he was referring to Leia. Come on now.
Good point.
Yeah.
But now they're thinking that he's referring to Rey.
Yeah, and if you think that, you're just a bunch of fuckos because
fuckos.
George Lucas did not write this and be like, oh, by the way, there's going to be a character who her name wasn't Rey in George Lucas' script. It was Kira. They kept that part. So, like, it was a very similar archetype. No, he's talking about Leia, you bastards.
You bastards.
Like, come on now. Or he's talking about somebody. He wasn't talking about Rey. He's not talking about Cal. I don't want to see it. We're going to get the Cal and Ezra show here soon. So stupid.
But yeah, so
even the Inquisitors, I'm not a big fan of. I'm a fan of the idea, but just like it again, we've talked about check out Clone Wars retrospective. It just completely breaks the whole rule of two. It really.
They're
does.
not Sith though.
They're using Force. They have red lightsabers. They dress like Darth Vader. they're fucking Sith. I don't care what you say.
A
Same
Sith,
way as
here's the
Kylo
thing.
Ren and Snoke are Sith.
A Sith. Snoke is not a Sith as we know. But here's the thing.
Yeah,
Sith is a
it's
title.
A rule too.
You can grow up and you can be using the Force. You can have a lightsaber like Rey. Rey was using the Force in Last Jedi, and she was using the Force or whatever in Force Awakens. It did not, and she was using a lightsaber in Force Awakens too. But in Force Awakens, she was not a Jedi. You know, but it's a title that is bestowed upon you.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense because in Clone Wars, Dooku doesn't consider himself a Sith. But Palpatine wants Anakin to take him out so there can be only two, right?
In Clone Wars?
No, in Attack of the Clones, sorry. Remember, he's like, I'm not a Sith. He's talking about to Obi-Wan about like their ideals, and I see them, just the Jedi being wrong. But then later on, Palpatine has Anakin and the third one kill him so he can take his place. There shouldn't be no taking place if he's not a Sith, right? It makes no sense. You could say to kill him to make him on the dark side, but that's not it. He says he needs him to take his place. He has a new younger apprentice.
You know,
it's all bull. It's in the movies, it's completely fine, but in canon it's completely shit. And that's why hashtag support Kathleen Kennedy when she's like, there's no books, there's no comic books. You know what she's saying? Fuck these little canon boys, these canon girls. I don't care about these comic books. You know why? Because they just muddle shit up. It's because they need, we got to do 3 and 4 in between. We can't do a Luke game. Let's do Cal. And it's fine. I'm having a fun time. I'm just kind of giving everyone here a hard time. But really, for my person that I'm the fan of the films, I still don't like that there was Cal running around. There was Inquisitors. To me, that's bullshit. You're either the Rule 2 or you're nothing. So there shouldn't be like 5 other Sith users or dark side users. That they're not called Siths, but they're everything but a Sith.
Well, here's the thing. So basically,
it's like if you went to Bed Bath & Beyond and you wore what they worked and you did everything they did, and they go, "You work here?" You go, "No," but you'd be like, "You're here 7 days a week doing job. You're doing work here," but yeah, but I don't work here. That's pretty much where it's like, yeah, he does work here. It's just like we might not be paying him, but he's still doing everything the employee would do.
Here's the thing with Dooku. So he can. I didn't know that he says like he was not a Sith or whatever, because obviously, he's talking like Obi-Wan saying, together we can destroy the Sith, and he's obviously that kind of ploy is like it's a lure ploy. It's a temptation trying to pull you in. And Dooku, he is a Sith. He has taken upon that title, Darth Tyrannus. He does call Palpatine his master and refers to him as master many times, and his position he has filled. Now, Palpatine, he loves his contingencies, and as we've seen in the Clone Wars, he was always looking into like recruiting like Force babies or whatever, and he is someone that he plans for these things. And the thing with the Inquisitorius is that they are Force.
Is there one called Inquisitorius, or aren't
it's their group called the Inquisitorius?
Aren't they just Inquisitors?
There's the Grand Inquisitor, and then there are it's the Inquisitorius.
And that's what I don't like when you think about Mace and Yoda's conversation when they're like, there can only 2, the Master and the Apprentice. Oh, and also these 3 other people that might be around, just kind of similar, but whatever.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be. The Inquisitorius is not something that could be applied when you have your Grand Sith who's hiding, because you can't have rivals and other people running around ruining your plans. Which it'll come to the Clone Wars, you'll see the result of that.
Oh yeah, they do it so well.
Because there's a reason why Palpatine does not have when he's trying to be low key under the wire in his position, why he doesn't want tons of people running around trying to be, on the dark side, all this stuff like that. There are other characters which we'll see in the Clone Wars, like Krell. He was not a Sith, but he was a dark side user,
Krell.
Obviously at this point. Yeah.
Oh,
Krell.
What an
and you'll
episode.
see there are other characters that will show that will be like that in the series as well. But again, they're not Sith. That is a title. Just like how Kylo Ren, at this point, he's not a Sith. He's like, screw the Sith, screw all that. He doesn't want to believe in that kind of thing.
It's Rule 2. He wears black. He wears a helmet like his granddaddy.
But the Inquisitors, now, they're all so unique for characters. Like, you have the Grand Inquisitor who's trying to, like, steal information from the Jedi archives. Then you have another guy who basically...
You have Poplin's Inquisitor.
You have another guy who, I can't remember his name, but he was a Jedi Master of the Jedi Order, and he actually was put on trial for trying to kill Mace Windu because he didn't believe in them becoming generals of the Grand Republic. No, he wasn't him. This was an older Jedi, and Mace Windu, Yoda put him on trial, and Mace Windu said, okay, no, he should not be executed. He should be allowed to leave, and he left, and then he was recruited into the Inquisitorius. they all have very interesting stories. Even like the Ninth Sister, all these characters I was reading about earlier, and they're just so intriguing. But where was I going before I got into all this? I was talking about the Order 66.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that whole moment in the game was just absolutely fantastic, and I really love seeing him, use his force powers and like taking out all of these clone troopers, especially when it got to the point where we were at the escape pod, and he took out like so many of them. He was just popping off, and he got one shot in the shoulder, and he was just killing them. And then when that thing opened up and you just see like 20 of the stormtroopers just all firing on him, it was just crazy. And that's where, it really
too powerful for my taste.
The clone troopers?
No, Cal in that moment when he like freezes time on all of them.
Well,
like,
he tapped into the dark side. I almost feel like for that moment, like Sarah did, I should say. But it's just those moments are just so fantastic, and that's exactly what I wanted to see in this game. It was like an Order 66 moment, and I'm happy that I got it because I think Fallen Order does not go on without the that moment, and it was cool to experience that moment parallel to the movies as well. But again, with the score that they threw into those scenes too was absolutely fantastic. The Duel of Fates with Trilla as well, that was absolutely fantastic at that end part there. I think it was at that end part that we had Duel of Fates with her.
I think there's tones of it, but I don't think it was the full track. I don't remember.
There were moments where there was the full track for sure, and then there was moments of the marching on the Jedi Temple that we got. There was a lot of Revenge of the Sith scores that were pulled in this, so I'm very happy about that.
Well, it makes sense. It's a time era.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I definitely am not a fan of the Wookiees. I've seen other people get insulted for this when they're trying to call out the Wookiees, but I'm just saying this straight up. Those are some 2009 graphics right there.
Yeah,
the Wookiees were talking and their lips weren't even moving.
Yeah, I remember seeing that at E3, and this is when I was worried for the game, and I was like, oh, these Wookiees look bad, but I was like hoping that, by the time the game gets out, they'll fix it. No, they looked like almost exactly how they did at E3. So yeah, those were not good designs, and even not good graphics. That happens, I think, a few times in the game. That some things are fleshed out really well. Even some cutscenes between characters, sometimes it'll look really good, and other times when they're talking, not even like what I was talking about earlier, textures and stuff going through each other. It just looks older than what things are happening right now. So yeah,
I really enjoyed though. What one of my cons, I should say first, was when we would finish on Kashyyyk and then we would move on to the next planet and then we would have to go right back to Kashyyyk, or we'd finish on not Zepho, or maybe we'd finish on Zepho, we'd go to another planet and then right back to Zepho, and I'd be like, well, this is really upsetting.
And that's where I love God of War, is once you unlock like their meditation points, you can fast travel between those two.
I wish there was fast travel points.
Because if you got to get to the very end of a planet and then all the way back and then you travel, because there's one point where like, especially with Cal near the end, it's like when your lightsaber breaks, you're at the end of Dathomir, you got to go all the way back, you get you get a crystal, and then you got to go to Dathomir and then go all the way back there. No fast travel. And it's not on the way to me where you can, and I'm a guy that likes fast travel, so sue me, but even a game like Death Stranding I just reviewed recently, it's like the environment and the visuals, and there's always like in Death Stranding, there's like anything can happen on this quest because it's not always the same. Where in this, like, it's always the same enemies there. It's always that. So it feels very repetitive, and it feels very much like a time thing. It feels like they wanted to stretch the game out instead of adding more content. Like, if we made them fast travel, that would cut out. Or if we maybe just like
shave off at least 5 hours.
Yeah. If we didn't make them go back and forth to planets so much, because that's the other thing. When you fall off the map, it's fine, but when you die, the load times suck. And I'm somebody, because Dylan's really excited for PS5 because the no load times are very little. And I'm somebody, I've said before, like, they don't really bug me. I can go check on my phone. I've always said, like, graphics, some of the best gaming, I'm like, if it never got better, I'd be fine with it. So I rarely notice that stuff. I'm always fine to check my Twitter, hang out with the girls, go grab a snack. Even then, these load times sucked. And they're not like, Lord of the Rings style, but as far as current games today, they feel as long as like a GTA or Red Dead, which is unacceptable because those, to me, have an excuse. That GTA and Red Dead shouldn't still be that long, but it makes sense because it's such a massive world they're loading, especially if you play it online. This, it shouldn't be, especially when you fall off the map and you respawn right away, but if you die, it takes that long. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, there's some dated stuff again, like we referred to earlier, like that.
Yeah, there were times when before I get to that, I will say when you're on Kashyyyk for the second time and you're flying on that creature, and it's just you just see the beauty of just how big the planet is. It was such a well done moment to that game because Kashyyyk has always got the short end of the stick, and the Empire is just always just abusing those Wookiees, and it always seems like it's a contained area that's always getting like attacked. But when you're flying above and you see how everything is just untapped and just perfect, you know that those Wookiees can hide anywhere there. They can be safe, but they want their origin tree like fucking Pandorans.
Yeah, the Na'vi.
I will also say that. Oh shit. Where was I going?
Oh shit!
This.
Oh shit!
We were talking about the fast travels.
Meditation points, load times, traveling from planet to planet. Kylo Ren and Rey getting it on. Hardcore. Force babies. Trust in JJ. Subscribe to Geek First Podcast. You've lost it.
Yeah, I lost it. Fudge nuggets.
Anything else story-wise? Because I'm all done with my notes.
No, just that Cordova guy. He was interesting, but I didn't find any attraction to his story. They threw him in there to start with, and then they kind of just let you forget about him. Eno Cordova, and then I feel like they
Cordova.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Remember the guy that basically hid the holocron in the first place and dispatched you?
Oh yeah, he was a nothing character.
The Zepho enthusiast.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing was great about him.
The only thing he sets up is like the reason BD keeps unlocking stuff is because he wiped his memories, and when he finds someone he can trust, he'll give them to you. I like BD. I think people have again overblown that. I don't think it's the same way when I saw BB-8 and Force Awakens. I love this droid. I'm like, I like this droid enough, but some people are like, this is one of the best Star Wars droids ever. I'm like, I don't think so, but
I don't understand fully where everyone's like level of just.
Now you know.
This is god tier.
Now you know how we feel when you talk about Rogue One. That's exactly.
Well, Rogue
how
One
we
is
feel.
deserving, 100%.
Not at all.
But this is just, and I don't say it in a bad way. I just don't understand. There are a lot of flaws and a lot of things that I feel like should be pointed out and articulated.
I think it's just because I'm not gonna speak for everybody. I think for some people, they were expecting just so little out of an EA game that the fact that it's this good makes it great, which that's fine.
Then that is fine too, for sure. But I just feel like, people are just hating on EA as a company, and yes, I will not deny they're
not right now. You should be happy.
They're doing good, and I'm happy that everyone is happy with EA to a point, or maybe Respawn, I guess. But
yeah.
I feel like yes, there are games that EA's put out that have just totally bombed and never seen the light of day again, like that one. I can't even remember what it was called. Anthem, yeah, like that one. And like, sure, there's some sports games which aren't always the greatest, or whatever, and other EA titles that aren't always the greatest. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Star Wars, at least, and on the Star Wars front, meaning the battlefront, it is a game that has had a lot of work and a lot of time put into it, and is continually.
Don't make this another soapbox for Battlefront. It's also, though, that is a very basic game. It's very repetitive. It does its one thing and can do it well. This is, I think, a better game as far as it is a much more on a grander scale. There's more work put in this game than Battlefront.
Yes, and no to a certain degree. Like the
work that they're putting in Battlefront now is just because they're covering their own ass because they fucking bombed the release of both games. This game at least it has problems, but any problems are, to me, and I like both Battlefronts. Any problems this game have is much more minor compared to what Battlefronts have.
You could say covering their own ass, sure, and maybe you are right to a certain degree, but the fact that we have a game where a lot of games nowadays, they don't get free DLC right out the door. They don't get continued support and additional content well over 2 years after the game has released.
We talked about that. First impressions. They're doing that because
I know. First impressions for sure.
Where this, at least so far, has done no DLC, no add-on. It has the good grace. It has a full, complete story. Whether it's great, that's debatable, but it has a great story. Like, it has a full, not a great story, but as far as start A to start B, it's completed. It has some glitches, but I think people would rather take a glitchy, sometimes buggy game over a game that's trying to charge you $2 for a skin or something.
And that's fair enough, but
not the skins.
I'm not pushing Battlefront 2 over Fallen Order. I'm just trying to explain kind of, I'm not gonna say my closing thoughts, but just kind of where I stand with these two games. But because they're the only games that we really have, anyways. But with Battlefront 2, I feel like okay, we got a very, a really good story that at least had me entertained, because it was a story and a campaign that I didn't put down, and I beat it within my first, 12 hours or like first day of owning this game. I could not put the controller down.
Yeah, where everybody else I've talked to says that story is completely skippable, and right away it turns into like, oh, you're a bad guy. No, you're good, and everything's fine. Like everything that they pitched you in the trailers of the story does not happen. So the characters get dropped in randomly. So that's the thing that I think this is I've not played Battlefront, but I can just, from what I've been told, this is a much more in-depth story. Even though it doesn't get that in-depth, it's more than 12 hours, and there's more, I think, thought put into it, where Battlefront kind of sounds like they put it in there because people said, oh, we really want a solo campaign.
For me, with Battlefront 2, the campaign, I found it to be just the gameplay and the aesthetic to it. It was very enticing, and as I said, I could not put the controller down. I love the characters that they threw in there. There were certain aliens, that were just totally pulled you in, and the characters, I really got into it, and that was something that Fallen Order lacked in that sense, because there were reoccurring characters in Battlefront 2, aliens that you really could hit it off with and connect with. And Greaves, I wanted to, but I couldn't really connect with him as a character. And again, with Battlefront 2, the detail and the precision of the graphics on the maps and the environments and everything you explore is fantastic. And yes, the lightsaber combat is definitely nowhere near comparison to Fallen Order. It's so much better in Fallen Order, I'll give it that. But everything that you can experience in Battlefront 2, and again, being able to experience it across all the eras, is just massively fantastic. Again, I love the era of Fallen Order. I like that it's something that we get to experience between episode 3 and 4, but I would put Battlefront 2 over this just for the sheer enjoyment factor and the nod towards every piece of Star Wars memorabilia, in the films, and even outside of the films, going into Clone Wars a little bit too. It was just a very good experience. Where Fallen Order, it was, like you said, safe, and it had its problems, but it did what it...
Battlefront 2 is very safe.
It is now, game. But it's something that people had problems.
It was an easy game to churn out for Last Jedi.
People had their problems with the game, and again, how the game Battlefront 2 kicked off itself with the microtransactions, absolutely horrendous, and I don't support that whatsoever. But I do support the fact that the game changed right away when people posed these issues and these problems. They revamped the entire multiplayer leveling and progression system. They changed the entire system of way loot boxes are not even a thing anymore, which I think is good, because that flows into this. So much critique and things that people have problems with in Battlefront 2 makes them aware, okay, now when we have Respawn and EA working on Fallen Order, we know not to throw in these things, and to really emphasize the fact that Fallen Order has no loot boxes, which is now a meme people are making, I've seen around too. But it's because of these kind of scenarios and these things that we go through with these developers that it paves the way, and it shows that what the fans voice really it goes a long way. Look at Sonic, who knows how
oh yeah, look at Sonic.
Who knows, how that movie's gonna do.
It's gonna bomb. You know why? They just came out and said it cost them $35 million.
That was a lie. It was actually a false rumor. It's actually $5 million.
Where is that from?
I don't know the name of the article, but they actually confirmed that today. You can look at that article yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
I will wait, and you could be right. I will wait till the movie releases, though, and that real budget comes out, and we get to see, oh, they were lying, and it did cost
$35 million for a redo of animation like that. But I don't know.
It's a completely CG character who's in your entire movie.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
$5 million.
I think they're lowballing it, but I'll look into it. That's the thing, though. Battlefront 2, it has its fan base. Taylor's going to talk about at any point he can. He just went on a rant there that he did not need to go. This, for me, is definitely, and I like both Battlefronts, this is definitely not even in the same ballpark as those Battlefronts. This is much better than those two games. I don't have any more thoughts. You want to do a final rating or what?
I would just put Battlefront above it, just even graphically speaking wise, because there's just moments like with Fallen Order, it's just like the graphics aren't on par. My lightsaber would completely turn into a flat rectangle of green, and I thought this isn't like great, and
fair enough.
But again, it's
I
patches.
can put up with it.
I'm happy that
no
I ended up putting up
microtransactions
with
for
it.
me, no DLC.
I ended up putting up with it because I beat the game. But I'm
Day
happy
one
for
of Battlefront. Oh, we have to change all the stuff out of those patches. Day one of Jedi Fallen Order. I'm just enjoying the experience, having a good time.
Day one of Battlefront. I beat the game. It was great. But with Fallen Order, I'm happy that the PC people got an update already and a patch for all their problems. And I just hope that we get one soon. I know that they're rolling one out for PS4 and Xbox One at some point. So hopefully it comes quick because there's a lot that I want to progress with that game. I am very upset that you cannot replay the Fortress level after you beat it. That's a little bit upsetting.
I agree.
But I'm going to go and explore other planets. I think right after that, I went back to Ilum and I went checking out a few places that I didn't get to check out before. There's lots of places now that you can slice things open. You got to go back and check it out. So I wish you could go back to Braca. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I will be, yeah. You done?
I guess I should give it a rating.
Yeah, sure.
I'd probably give this game... Honestly, I'd probably give it maybe 6.5 or a 7.
Oh.
I'd probably give it a 7, actually. Yeah.
6.5.
I'll go with a 7.
This game was really hard for Taylor.
Play on Jedi Master difficulty from do a whole new game. Let me know how it is for you. Fucking Malicos.
Easy.
I've never had a boss actually really grind my gears where I actually stand up from almost killing him and just swear at my TV like I did. And I appreciate it. At the end of the day, I really do, because I think, bosses, they should be like that, especially with save points. They shouldn't be where you hit checkpoints. They make it too easy for fucking little kids these days, I think they should be all out hardcore and, you really feel rewarding upon beating them. But
unless he kicks your ass, is what Taylor said.
No, in this case, make the battle just a little bit more polished so that, you aren't getting just royally fucked every which way and angle. Jeez Louise. And it's just, God, Malicos. I wasted an hour and a half of my freaking free night plowing away at Malicos.
Yeah, he could have been plowing something else, but no, he's plowing
Malicos.
I'm going to give this a 7.75 because my enjoyment of it is an 8, but as far as a critical eye scoring, I just can't give it an 8 because we're getting to that B territory, and I just think that I don't what is a B? 76%?
A B I think is 75 to 86%.
75. So maybe I don't know. I'll stick with a 7.5 for some of the fun stuff. But I just think my enjoyment, yeah. But as an actual game, I just can't give it an 8 because an 8 out of 10 to me is getting into the very good category, where this is still not pretty good. The only reason is because of the glitches, how buggy it is, and how some of it doesn't work. The story is basic, so that's kind of a point off, and there is some. There's some glitches. There's some combat aspects that aren't the greatest, but overall, I had a really good time with it. Yeah, it sounds like these cons stuck out a lot more than maybe the positives did, but as I said before, I had a good time that I will be playing it again, and I'm very excited for a Jedi Fallen Order 2. I'll be there day one to play it, and I hope it's good, and I hope all our problems get improved on. So, Phil, where they find us?
They can find us in the search bar with Unit Connection at Geek for Space Podcast. There's so many good things on there that you will love.
Just head down the description down below and you can get the audio feeds, the video feeds. Please subscribe. If you like this review, please leave us a written review. That would help us out tremendously on iTunes. Give us that nice 5-star. We really appreciate it. So until next time, we promise you it'll not be boring, and may the Force be with you.
Always. You actually went higher than me. Hallelujah.
6.5.
The game really bothered me a lot.
6.5 is a little low.